Welcome back to this week's episode, Jags. This is Klara.
And I'm Brooke.
And this is WJAG TV with your weekly school news.
2 weeks ago, Cedar Shoals artists went to visit the High Art Museum in Atlanta, Georgia, exploring all different types of art and artists. Claire, Lankford, and I joined the art students to see what the museum had to offer. Here's what we saw.
Students in AP Art and Art History class took a field trip to the High Museum of Art in Atlanta. This trip was to help students see art outside of the classroom.
Well, we are the largest museum here in the Southeast, and we definitely bring in about 53,000 students here yearly, and we're always hoping to reach more and more of those students. First-time visitors, we've got the Highlights Tour, which will be pretty much a touch of everything, from architecture to sculptures and paintings and photography. Everything is tied to the curriculum. So if it's elementary, middle, high, we tie it to all the standards. A lot of times the high school students will do a self-guided visit to be able to give the students more time to reflect and think on their own and be able to see it without having someone take them around to specific works of art.
I was offered the opportunity by Miss Johnson. I'm in her Art 3 class, and I just really enjoy, going on the field trips and seeing lovely art in the High Museum. I thought it was a really cool opportunity. I think Miss Johnson and Miss Kitchens wanted us to see just professionals work, wanted us to have this upper echelon of professionalism to work towards.
I wanted to take them on a field trip to the High Museum to offer them that access to the museum space as a place of learning, as a place for conversation, as a place to experience.
Many students were very impressed by the art pieces they saw in the museum. Some even got to see their favorite artists.
Seeing Monet was super cool. Seeing all the types of art really influenced the type of art I want to produce.
I was expecting partially that it would be kind of boring and it wouldn't be as interesting as it was. I got to see one of my favorite artists there. My favorite artist is Basquiat. He was an artist in the 90s or 80s. He started an entire art movement because of his different kind of style.
Seeing this art in person rather than looking at it through like a smart board or anything, it's definitely more personal to see it up close.
Some of the pieces that we saw there are the same pieces that we do learn about in AP Art History. A lot of the abstract pieces were more moving, I guess, in person instead of seeing them as pictures. I think it is important because they should learn about a lot of past history, and it gives a lot of influence on modern art today.
And the scavenger hunt that we did allowed me to see a lot of really cool stuff, including the silhouettes at the top floor. It sets sort of a standard, like a goal for me to work towards. I'm constantly trying to better myself and better my art in these classes, so getting to see someone's extremely high quality professional work in person.
I always say that high school students are the ones that are very, I think, laid back.
I was pleasantly surprised with the reaction of the students. They were way more into it than I could have ever imagined. Things clicked with them when we're talking about seeing artwork in context and responding to the visit to the museum. All of them really reiterated how important it was for them to see those works in real life, that they get it now.
I think that high school students would really benefit from seeing the High Museum.
The trip to the High Museum of Art was a success and helped many students develop a better appreciation for the art they learn about in class. The Cedar Art Program hopes to be able to take more students in the future. This has been Claire Lankford and Brooke Fraysher with WJAG TV with your weekly school news.
Educational field trips are the best, especially when you don't know they're educational. Thanks to the Art Museum for having us.
The American diet has been changing drastically over the past few years and has become a topic of concern for many people. Elena Gorshin talked to a few specialists to discuss how the American diet is impacting teenagers.
What is your favorite food?
Burritos.
Green apples.
Of all time, fries. French fries.
French fries.
French fries and chicken nuggets.
I guess it'd probably be pizza.
Asian food in general.
Pepperoni pizza with bacon.
I love French fries because they can serve as a full meal. Like, I get full very quickly. So they can serve as a full meal or
octopus.
A snack. You just have to portion it.
French fries are my favorite
because
food.
I think
in
that
the
you can
winter
put a lot of stuff
forget
in
fries,
it.
I want
I think that there's a lot of variety.
Forget fries, I want
Last piece, no, I want pizza.
One of the few things everyone can agree on and love is food. Every culture, ethnicity, religion, every country in the world relies on this one thing. But food is not offered to everyone in the same way. In fact, it's completely unbalanced. While half of the world is dying from lack of food, the other half is dying from too much. Since the rise of industry in developing countries, major food companies have made billions off of cheap and processed food. Now, in the US, food is the most convenient it has ever been, while also being the most addictive and harmful.
In America, we tend to be overeating in some populations. We're certainly eating more protein, animal protein, than we need to on a daily basis.
I think that the American diet is kind of on a downfall right now, and probably the dawn of the 80s and the microwave and the quick fix meal, because both parents were out of the house working, sort of kicked it off.
So you could look historically and say, you know, humanity on whole, on average, has never eaten so well because we have a surplus of calories. On the other hand, we are eating more processed food than we should, more processed food than is actually good for us.
Like, I want to say, oh, it's so easy, just eat differently, but I know that students are reliant on their parents for the food they're getting, and not just the food their parents are buying, but also where their parents might be going out to dinner, or if their parents are even home to cook for them or teach them how to cook. But something I see in the classroom a lot is, one, students struggling with weight, students struggling to have energy even just to get through the day. Students constantly complaining of headaches or stomach aches, or feeling like they have different ailments that they have to go to the doctors for. So I have a lot of students that miss a lot of class because they are seeing a doctor.
If you raise children taking them to a restaurant on a daily basis, or 3 times a week, or 4 times a week, or 5 times a week, and each time you just think of it as a single incidence of just making a convenience choice, what that child knows by the time they're a teenager is that people eat out all the time, and that it's acceptable to eat fast food for a majority of your calories.
Footlong quarter-pound Chicago dog, or the new bacon smokehouse burger.
The A1 buttery steak burger. It is, along with 4 nuggets, fries, and a drink.
I think marketers have figured out the perfect proportion of fat and sugar and salt to make those fast foods really addicting. So beyond convenience, I think those foods are really addicting, and people just want to go back for more.
It's a matter of making a choice, and that choice is influenced for a lot of people by budget. Sometimes there's the impression that fast food is cheaper than buying groceries, and that's just not the case. You can buy a whole chicken cheap, break it down, and make many meals out of a whole chicken. Dried rice, dried pasta, dried beans are all super inexpensive.
Industries such as McDonald's or Nestle advertise their products as natural or beneficial, making it seem like what we consume is good for us. But in reality, more than 75% of the food offered has been genetically modified and processed. Dollar General is one of the many companies that has been making increased profits by selling cheap goods. This has been a theme for years now, making it so most children grow up eating very few non-processed foods.
I feel like diet is probably the most important thing in anyone's life. You know, if you want academic success, you have to have like a healthy, functioning body. So when I came to Cedar, it was really apparent to me that that wasn't happening for many of my students.
So we lean heavily on convenience food and the drive-through, but what we see is that is leading to lifestyle diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, blood pressure, high cholesterol, all sorts of different conditions.
It's harder than it sounds for a teenager to just change their diet, but I think being aware of what you're eating is the first step. Even if you're restricted to just eating at the dollar store, right? Or just eating at a fast food restaurant, there are a lot of options that are healthier than others.
Essentially, our overall health is influenced by what we eat, so choosing foods that nourish your body is very important. Eating things like chips or candy occasionally isn't wrong, but eating it daily will cause long-term consequences. You don't need to change your diet drastically to help your body. Doing things like drinking water every day or eating fruit is small, but it will help you physically and mentally. This is Elena Gorshinin for WJAG TV, signing off.
Great work, Elena. Now to sports with Bram Johnson.
The Lady Jags basketball season has recently begun, and their hopes are very high for the season. They are currently 3-6, and their next game is tonight versus Westside High School.
The season going pretty good, but we got to work on some stuff. We just need to communicate better, work together as a team, and finish our layups, I guess. Our main goal now is to get our chemistry together. My personal goals is to just work hard every time I step foot on the court and work good with my teammates.
Also, the wrestling team has begun competing, and Coach Culver believes that he has many students who could go to state. The team's next meet is January 5th at Oglethorpe.
This year so far, my first 2 matches, they weren't so good, but as the season has been progressing, I've gotten in shape more, and so this helped me to perform better in my matches and start to win.
Well, I think I performed very well. I made plenty of mistakes. My record could be better. I got to work more hard.
Better than last year. I lost all my matches, really. I'm 4-2.
My weight class, there's a pretty good weight range, so I'm able to stay. Some weight classes, they have more speed. So the smaller weight classes, you'll see smaller people with, speed, and they use their quickness and agility more so than strength. As you see bigger weight classes using strength and not so much speed.
It's like mostly they get tired before I do, and it's easy to pin them.
There's 3 rounds. Each round was worth 2 minutes. Our wrestlers can score points by takedowns, by an escape. Meaning if a wrestler has a hold on the other one, he escapes, that's a point. You can also score points by what we call a reverse. If a wrestler has another wrestler in a hold and he reverses that hold, or you can end the match if you pin someone. But pretty much you score a majority by being the wrestler that's dominant or in control of the match. They normally football, JRTC, which is not a sport, but they do a lot of physical activities. We have a lot of JRTC students do it. A lot of students who have weight training as a class, things they do, weight training, getting your body in shape, cutting down on body fat. So those are some of the things that students do that kind of help them prepare for wrestling.
My speed and my strength, my upper body and my lower body. Well, mainly my legs.
I try to stay away from junk food because, if I go overweight, I won't be able to wrestle that day. So try to stay away from junk foods and eat a little bit more healthy.
It keeps me in shape, and it shows me how to keep my body in shape.
It always keep me doing something, and just not at home, sit on the couch, I guess.
A one-on-one between schools is normally as a duel. You just you go for team points. The one-on-one, or what we call traditional area, is kind of the individual side of wrestling. Yes, we're looking for our smaller weight classes, which would be like our 106, 113, 120, 126, those smaller classes. Well, we have our heavyweights, as you saw the guys you interviewed. We're just looking for some of the smaller guys to come out and wrestle. To motivate them to either, tough it out, meaning endurance, or to do a move, taking them through the next step. Everything we drill every day is natural wrestling, but coach comes in and say, do this move, and help them, guide them with what we do in practice every day.
That's it for this week of WJAG TV Sports. Now back to the studio.
Joe Marcial is a young entrepreneur here at Cedar Shoals with a booming barber business. Here's Dominic Bielli with more about Joe's business.
Joe Marcial has been following his goals of being a professional barber for the past 3 years. With support from peers, other barbers, and his family, Joe sprouted his first barber shop after getting many haircuts he didn't like.
Probably the thing that made me start cutting hair was due to the fact my mom will always mess me up every time. It never came out good. It always came out more like a bowl cut. So one day I just grabbed the clippers and I started cutting my own hair. Yeah, it made myself look bad, but you know, soon, like time and time, I started getting good. As I got better and people started noticing me, and that's when everything started going off. And I just cut hair in my house for a good, like 8 months. And then, you know, whenever I started posting all my fades and all my cuts on Instagram, I just, you know, at one point I thought, what if I at people like on Instagram? I show them my work and see what they say. So at the age of 17, I made a cut. I did a cut. I posted it, but I also added at this barber named Tito. He owns a shop. You know, I was just like, man, let me see what will happen. Next thing you know, the next day he messaged me telling me, would you like to work in my shop? So I was like, yeah, sure. You know, that took off. And the more I realized that, you know, not all barbers like work in the shop at the age of 17. I got out of the shop due to, you know, reasons like school. So I just got out. It wasn't enough time for me actually. That's only cut. Well, that's why I actually only come over here to my cousin's house to cut hair now.
As Joe's skill set in business grew, so did the price of his cuts. And with the money earned from the job, he invested in new equipment to improve himself and the business even further.
Whenever I was cutting hair in my house, I was charging like $5 each cut. So there was one point my back started hurting, and I had bought. I was thinking of buying a chair, and I had enough money. And I bought this chair whenever I saved enough, and then from that money, I had upgraded all my tools to like wireless clippers and better shavers and better products for your hair. It wasn't just one thing, you know, it was multiple things that I had bought with money that improved my learning skills. Well, right now I charge 15, but now, you know, as better I get, the more I have to charge, because there's a certain point where your art becomes so much detail that time and waste are consumed in that period of time.
I think 15 is a very good price because he does give amazing fades. And if you go to anyone else, they charge you like 17, 20 for just a low quality fade. He takes his time in his cuts as well.
After working at previous spots such as Tito's in his own house, Joe now cuts hair at his cousin's house and hopes to continue his hobby into a career with motivation from local barbers.
The big barber I really would look up to is Clinton the Barber. For the same reason why I still want to get better. Is everything he does is the culture behind his name, the nature behind his ability is amazing. So, like, he's the reason why I want to be better than. I don't want to be like him. I want to be better than him. I want to be someone who exceeds expectations the most.
And do you expect to like keep doing this in the future?
Well, yeah, it's more of a career. And another thing is, one day owning a barbershop is a dream of mine. Because, you know, I want to be my own boss, not somebody else's worker. So, yeah.
If you are interested in a haircut or fade, contact Joe by direct messaging him on Instagram @_JMR_Jr. This has been Dominic Bielli reporting for WJAG TV.
So if you ever need a fresh cut, make sure you check in with Joe.
I sure will. This holiday season, teachers and students will be celebrating in many different ways. Jocelyn Clark and Elena Gorshinin as some of our fellow JAGs how they celebrate their holidays. Let's take a look.
The holidays are finally here, and people are celebrating in all different ways and fashions around the world. So why would anything be different here at Cedar? Let's jump in and find out.
Christmas morning, wake up, open presents with my family, and then go to my grandparents' house and open presents there.
I celebrate the holidays by celebrating Hanukkah and Christmas. My mom's half of the family, they're Jewish, and then my dad's half is Christian.
Growing up, it was Christmas Eve with Dad, and then Christmas morning with Mom and all my sisters. And this year it's going to be my husband and I, just us in our new house. So that'll be different.
Me and my family celebrate Kwanzaa. So right after Christmas, it goes straight into the traditional Kwanzaa stuff.
Well, on the 24th, we all get together at like 8, 9 at night, and we all bring something to eat, and then we wait until 12 to start celebrating Christmas.
Instead of just having one day of celebration and like family and stuff, we have basically 7, so we get together with our family that's from like far away on Christmas, and then we have a more intimate setting for like Kwanzaa.
I like to be with family, and I like to have quiet time. I might go and try to do some shopping or try to catch up on things, but that's generally what I like to do.
I think what's different from Hispanic families and from traditional families here, we celebrate on the 24th, and then we all say Merry Christmas at 12 o'clock.
What's different is we love to come together and talk a whole lot about the past and how we can make things better. We try to focus on health and wellness and stuff, so we try to make that fundamental when we get together. Cookies. I eat a lot of cookies.
We have Christmas Eve dinner the night before, but I guess the weird part is, like, up until this day, my aunts and uncles, we still do Santa Claus, even though we're like in our 20s, like we're late in age now, I guess.
I see my family and I'm turn up. My tradition on Christmas, we open a gift the day before and then Christmas Day. We go to the brunch, we have a brunch and we open our restaurant.
Really, like, the only thing that changed is, I guess when I was little, I used to get a bunch of gifts and stuff, but now it just, maybe just a hug or a pat on the back or something.
Well, when I was younger, it was just really me and my cousin. And now, since families have grown, it's really just we're the big kids and there's like 10 other kids.
So Christmas Eve, my family, my household, we open one present. So like if your present leads to the next present, you try to wait to Christmas. But we wake up, we eat like a breakfast, then we open our presents, then we have dinner at my house, then we go to like my auntie house or something, and then we open them up here. So that's it.
Look, first of all, we gotta do no finals. If I do good in my final, my holiday gonna go perfect. Then I go to my grandma's house, then, you know what I'm saying, she cook a little cake. Then I get on no dirt bike, bike like some old shit, man, y'all already know.
Big thing is we all, even like my grandparents, we all have Christmas pajamas, and we keep them on as long as possible, so. But this year is the first year ever, now that I have my own son, we're actually celebrating Christmas at my house this year, so.
Usually at the end of Kwanzaa, we get like really large gifts, but it's kind of switched around because we also celebrate Christmas. On Christmas, we give all of the large gifts, and then throughout the week it gets like smaller and smaller, so more sentimental gifts come towards the end.
One thing that we do for Christmas that is kind of unique is we've always opened our presents one at a time, so it's like youngest to oldest. Growing up, that was fun because we'd still be opening presents at like noon, and the neighbors would have finished like instantly.
Well, at my house, when it hit 12 o'clock, you get your gifts. Okay, we wake up in the morning, we go to my grandma's house, then we go to my other grandma's house, and they give us gifts too, so.
Pretty much the general Christmas. We'll have a Christmas tree, we'll gather, we'll eat some food and stuff and talk and just catch up on some things.
We just spend a lot of time with each other, enjoy each other's company, vibe with the family, just relax, and just have fun.
That seems to be all for this week, Jags. Again, my name is Klara.
And I'm Brooke.
And this has been WJAG TV with your weekly school news.
See you next year.